First contact, first blood. The Viridian ships appeared without warning on a Tuesday morning. One moment, Earth's skies were clear. The next, massive obsidian vessels hung over every major city like colossal tombstones. Scientists had long speculated about first contact, but none imagined it would begin with silence followed by slaughter. Humanity had achieved remarkable technological advances: quantum computing, fusion energy, neural interfaces, but nothing prepared them for the violet beams that carved through skyscrapers and reduced neighborhoods to ash. The Viridians, a silicon-based species from a dying star system, hadn't come to study Earth or establish diplomatic relations. They had come to exterminate. In the first 24 hours, over 12 million people perished. Global communications fractured. Governments collapsed. Military installations worldwide were targeted with precision strikes. The Viridians had studied humanity for decades, identifying every strategic asset, every defense system, every potential threat. But they had miscalculated. They hadn't accounted for Dr. Elena Reyes, who had theorized about silicon-based life forms and had hidden her research in quantum-encrypted servers. They hadn't anticipated Colonel Marcus Way, who had insisted on maintaining analog communication systems that the aliens couldn't disrupt. And they certainly hadn't expected the Lazarus Protocol, a doomsday contingency that governments worldwide had secretly agreed upon after the stellar anomaly of 2037. As the Viridian ground forces deployed, towering, crystalline beings with reflective exoskeletons and weapons that manipulated gravity itself, they expected minimal resistance. What they encountered instead was organized chaos. Guerrilla fighters using weapons that shouldn't have worked. Military units communicating through methods that shouldn't have existed. A resistance that shouldn't have been possible. In the ruins of Geneva, a small team led by Dr. Rice captured a wounded Viridian scout. While others saw a monster, she saw opportunity. Working in a makeshift lab constructed in an abandoned metro tunnel, she discovered something extraordinary. The Viridian physiology, while incredibly resilient to conventional weapons, was catastrophically vulnerable to specific sonic frequencies. It's their molecular structure, she explained over the emergency broadcast system that Colonel Way had cobbled together. Silicon-based life relies on crystalline lattice formations. Disrupt those formations with the right harmonic frequency, and they shatter. Across the globe, survivors began constructing crude sonic emitters from salvaged electronics. In Mumbai, a teenage engineering prodigy modified a concert sound system. In Rio, an elderly music professor repurposed church organ pipes. In Detroit, automotive engineers converted car horns into weapons. The first human victory came 3 weeks after the initial attack. A Viridian patrol in what remained of Berlin encountered what appeared to be a small group of survivors huddled around a generator. The aliens approached, weapons ready, only to be met with a wall of sound that reduced them to glittering dust. Similar ambushes followed worldwide, and for the first time since their arrival, the Viridians began to retreat. Their retaliation was swift and brutal. They targeted population centers with impunity, killing hundreds of thousands more. But with each attack, they revealed more of themselves. Their tactics, their technology, their limitations. Humanity, known throughout its history for adapting to overcome, did what it did best. It evolved. Dr. Rice made another breakthrough by studying the remains of Viridian soldiers. They're networked, she announced. Their consciousness exists partially in a quantum field. If we can disrupt that field, Colonel Way finished her thought, we can blind them all at once. Operation Blackout launched 60 days after first contact. Using repurposed Viridian technology and Earth's existing satellite network, humans broadcast a quantum disruption signal that temporarily severed the aliens' hive consciousness. For 7 precious minutes, every Viridian soldier on Earth stood frozen, disoriented, vulnerable. Those 7 minutes changed the course of the war. Prepared resistance fighters worldwide struck simultaneously. In New York, they reclaimed Manhattan. In Beijing, They secured the Forbidden City. In Cairo, they drove the invaders from the Nile Valley. When the Viridians recovered, they found themselves surrounded, outmaneuvered, and for the first time, outgunned. The alien commander, a being known only as the Prism, summoned its remaining forces to a final stand in the Australian outback. There, surrounded by red earth and under an unforgiving sun, the remnants of the Viridian invasion force prepared for a last, desperate battle. What they didn't know was that humanity had already won. While the ground war raged, Dr. Reyes had been working with a multinational team to reverse engineer Viridian propulsion technology. As dawn broke over the Australian battlefield, the first human-piloted spacecraft in history to break light speed departed Earth's atmosphere, bound for the Viridian homeworld. The ground battle in Australia wasn't meant to be won. It was meant to be a distraction. Colonel Way led the diversionary force personally. As his troops engaged the Viridians with sonic weapons and conventional firearms, he watched the sky. A single shooting star, heading away from Earth, told him everything he needed to know. Hold the line, he told his soldiers. Give them time. The Viridians fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. Their crystalline bodies glinted in the harsh sunlight as they deployed weapons of unimaginable power, gravity wells that crushed humans to paste, energy beams that reduced tanks to molten slag. But humanity fought back with equal ferocity. Sonic emitters mounted on jury-rigged vehicles shattered Viridian soldiers by the dozens. EMP devices disrupted their communications, and where technology failed, human courage prevailed. Soldiers charged into certain death to place sonic mines. Civilians sacrificed themselves to guide refugees to safety. As the battle reached its climax, the Prism itself took the field, standing 3 times the height of a human, its crystalline body refracting sunlight into blinding rainbows. It unleashed devastation. Hundreds died in seconds. Colonel Way, wounded but undaunted, activated his final weapon, a sonic cannon powered by the combined output of a dozen nuclear generators. As the Prism advanced toward him, he smiled. "You came to the wrong planet," he said, and fired. The sound was beyond hearing, beyond feeling. It was a force of nature, a tsunami of acoustic energy that reduced the Prism to sparkling dust that scattered across the red earth. Without their leader, the remaining Viridians fell into disarray, easy prey for the emboldened human forces. As the sun set on the battlefield, Colonel Way received a transmission from Dr. Rice aboard the stolen ship. "We've reached their system. Phase 2 begins now." Human survivors worldwide looked to the stars, where the real war was just beginning. The Extinction Protocol. The stolen Viridian vessel, christened Nemesis by its human crew, emerged from light speed at the edge of the Viridian home system. Dr. Elena Reyes stood on the command deck, staring at the alien sun that burned orange-red against the void. Around her, a hastily trained crew of scientists, engineers, and soldiers operated technology they barely understood. "Life signs?" she asked. "Massive readings from the third planet," reported Aishambiki, a xenobiologist who had survived the destruction of Nairobi. "Population estimate in the billions." Elena nodded grimly. Earth had lost nearly 1 billion people to the Viridian assault. The aliens had come with genocide in mind, showing no mercy, offering no quarter. Now, humanity stood at the precipice of becoming what they had fought against: exterminators. "Take us in," she ordered. "Activate the stealth systems." The Viridian homeworld was a marvel, a silicon paradise of crystalline spires and geometrically perfect cities that sparkled under their ancient sun. Vast structures orbited the planet, harvesting energy and resources with terrifying efficiency. The scale of their civilization made Earth's greatest achievements seem primitive by comparison. "They're not ready for us," Aisha observed. "No defensive posture, no patrol ships." "They never expected prey to follow predators home," Elena replied. The Nemesis deployed its first weapon, not a bomb or a missile, but information. Hacking into the Viridian quantum network, They'd broadcast everything they had learned about Viridian vulnerabilities, along with images of their defeats on Earth. Panic spread through the alien civilization as they realized the impossible had happened. Their prey had become the hunter. Back on Earth, Colonel Wei coordinated the ground campaign to eliminate the remaining Viridian forces. With their command structure destroyed and reinforcements cut off, the aliens fought with increasing desperation. In what remained of Paris, the last major Viridian stronghold in Europe, fell when resistance fighters flooded the catacombs with sonically charged water, turning the ancient tunnels into weapons. "Brisbane secure," reported a voice over Wei's comm system. "Sydney in progress. Estimate full Australian liberation within 48 hours. Similar reports came in from across the globe. Moscow reclaimed. Tokyo secured. Cairo liberated. The tide had turned so dramatically that many began to hope for something that had seemed impossible weeks earlier: victory. But Colonel Wei knew better. This isn't about winning, he told his officers. It's about survival. Theirs or ours. In orbit around the Viridian homeworld, Alina and her crew watched as the alien civilization fragmented. Without the guiding intelligence of the prism, different factions emerged, some advocating for peace, others for a renewed assault on Earth. "We could negotiate," suggested Aisha. "Establish boundaries, a truce." Alina shook her head. "They came to exterminate us without provocation. What happens when they recover? When they build new ships, choose a new prism. We can't risk another attack." The decision weighed heavily on her. Genocide was against everything she believed in as a scientist, as a human being. But the alternative might mean the eventual extinction of humanity. The solution came from an unexpected source. Carlos Mendez, a quantum physicist who had lost his entire family in the destruction of Mexico City, approached Alina with a theory. "We don't need to kill them," he explained. "We need to isolate them. Permanently." His plan was audacious. Using modified Viridian technology, they could create a quantum barrier around the entire system, a bubble in space-time that nothing could enter or exit. The Viridians would survive, but they would never threaten Earth or any other world again. The implementation required precision and sacrifice. The Nemesis would have to position quantum generators at specific points around the system, creating a network that would seal the Viridians in their own pocket of space. The ship would be trapped inside when the barrier activated. "It's a one-way mission," Alina realized. Carlos nodded. "For those who stay to activate it. But most of the crew can return to Earth in escape pods before the final sequence." Alina made her decision. "I'll stay. I need 4 volunteers." Every crew member stepped forward. On Earth, the last Viridian stronghold fell as humans reclaimed Wellington, New Zealand. The planet was secure, but the cost had been catastrophic. Over 1 billion dead, cities in ruins, ecosystems damaged. Yet amidst the destruction, humanity had found unity. Old enemies had become allies against a common threat. Resources were shared, knowledge freely given. The foundations for a new global civilization were being laid in the ashes of the old. Colonel Wei received Alina's transmission as dawn broke over the ruins of what had once been Beijing. "Quantum isolation protocol ready," she reported. "We've selected the volunteer team. The rest are returning in captured Viridian shuttles, ETA to Earth, approximately 3 weeks. Casualties?" Wei asked. "Acceptable," she answered, though her voice betrayed the weight of her choice. "The barrier will activate 24 hours after our team positions the final generator. After that, the Viridian system will be cut off from the universe. Forever." Wei closed his eyes. "Is there no other way?" "We either isolate them or exterminate them," Alina said plainly. "I choose the option that lets both species survive." The quantum generators were positioned over the next 14 days. The Viridians, recognizing the threat, mounted desperate attacks against the Nemesis, but the ship's advanced technology kept it one step ahead. As the final generator moved into position, the volunteer team prepared to make their last stand. Alina recorded her final message to Earth. We've activated the sequence. The barrier will form in 24 hours. The returning crew carries all the technological data we've gathered. Propulsion systems, energy generation, material science. Use it wisely. Build something better than what came before. And remember those who won't be coming home. Colonel Wei received the message as he stood amidst the reconstruction efforts in Tokyo. Around him, humans worked alongside reprogrammed Viridian drones, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Children, who weeks earlier had hidden in terror from the alien invaders, now played in safely designated areas. Broadcast Dr. Rai's message worldwide, he ordered, and prepare a global observational event for tomorrow. 24 hours later, astronomers worldwide pointed their instruments toward the distant star that marked the Viridian home system. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, in an instant, the star winked out, not because it had died, but because its light could no longer reach Earth. The quantum barrier had activated, sealing the Viridians away from the universe. In the decades that followed, humanity rebuilt and expanded. Using reverse-engineered Viridian technology, they developed interstellar travel, colonized nearby star systems, and established contact with other intelligent species. Earth became the center of a growing alliance of worlds, united by principles of mutual defense and scientific cooperation. A memorial orbited Earth where the Viridian flagship had once threatened destruction. It contained the names of every human lost in the invasion, alongside the names of the volunteer crew who had sacrificed themselves to end the war. Below their names was inscribed a simple message: they came to destroy. We chose to survive. And in a pocket universe, forever isolated from the cosmos, the Viridians continued their existence, unaware that their intended prey had become something far greater than they could have imagined, not just survivors, but inheritors of the stars themselves.